Hello friends, myself Archana Mogal from KTHM College, Nasik, Department of Computer Science. I am going to teach a paper, Database Management System. Now, today we will see the remaining types of constraints. In previous lecture, we will see the key constraints and types of key constraints. And today we will see the integrity constraints, referential constraint, check constraints, domain constraints, null or not null constraints, and mapping constraints. We have seen in previous lecture key constraints, the integrity constraints, referential constraints, unique constraints, null or not null constraints, domain constraints, check constraints, and mapping constraint we'll see in today's lecture. Let us see integrity constraints. A relational database is a collection of many relations, and the tuples in those relations are usually related in various ways. The state of a database at any point of a time is defined by the state of all its relations at that point of time. Generally, many restrictions are placed on the actual values in a database state, and these restrictions are called as a constraints. Integrity constraints means integrity is related with the data into a database, and the term data integrity refers to the correctness and the completeness of the data. In any relational database, we have collection of related tables, and these different tables are connected with the foreign keys. If we want to connect two or more tables, we can use the concept of foreign keys. We already studied that. We can insert, delete or update the data from the database. While performing these operations, we may lose the data integrity at the time. There are some ways in which we may lose the data. First way is invalid data entry. For example, to book a ticket for a flight which does not exist. Then modify existing data with incorrect value. For example, write a country name for domestic flight which does not supply it. In that case, data may be lost. Then changes to a database may get lost because of power failure or system failure. Sometimes the programs which updates the data are not written properly. In that case, data may be lost. Sometimes parent rows deleted and child row exists. In that case also data may be lost. So DBMS tries to preserve the integrity of data by providing integrity constraints, and there are three types of constraints, three types of integrity constraints. First one is key constraint, second one is entity integrity constraints, and third one is referential integrity constraints. We already see that key constraints. A key constraint is a statement that a certain minimal subset of the fields of a relation is a unique identifier for a tuple, and a set of fields which uniquely identifies a tuple or record according to the key constraint is called candidate key. Entity integrity constraints. No component of a primary key value may be null. By definition of all entities must be distinguishable, that is they must have a unique identification property. So we can use primary key for distinguish the entities from the table. Primary keys performs the unique identification function in a relational database. A null value for an attribute is a value that is either not known at the time or does not apply to give an instance of the object. If any attribute of a primary key were permitted to have null values, then that key cannot be used for unique identification of a tuples because it cannot be distinguish the attributes from the tables. The constraint states that the primary key value of a relation cannot be null. A primary key is used to uniquely identify each type in a relation. If a primary key has null value for more than one tuple of a relation, then we cannot identify them uniquely. There is one example of entity integrity constraints. The attribute ID is the primary key. Consider the attribute ID is the primary key. If null values represented as null keyword were permitted, then the two tuples null and Sumit are indistinguishable, even though they may represent two different instances of the entity type employee. It contradicts the instances of entities are distinguishable. Let us see referential integrity constraint. The referential integrity constraint is specified between two relations and is used to maintain the consistency among two tuples in two relations. In simple words, the constraint states that a tuple in a one relation that refers to another relation must refer to an existing tuple in that relation. And to define referential integrity, we must first define the concept of foreign key, which we have already defined. Let us see unique constraints. It enforces a column or a set of columns to have unique values. If a column has a unique constraint, it means that a particular column cannot have duplicate values in a table. A primary key constraint automatically has a unique constraints because duplicate values cannot be inserted in a table by using primary key. Both unique and primary key constraints provide a guarantee for what? For uniqueness for a column or a set of columns. You can have many unique constraints per table but only one primary key constraints per table. The unique constraint relates to the type of values that can be had in an attribute of a relation. And it specifies that every valid value in an attribute should be a unique value, and by valid value it means that the attribute defined with the unique constraint may have either a null value, or if it has a valid value then it has to be a unique value for every tuple in the relation to which the attribute belongs to. Then null or not null constraints. Not null constraints make sure that a column does not hold null value. And when we don't provide value for a particular column while inserting a record into a table, then it takes null value by default. That means null constraints will be used. By specifying null constraints, we can be sure that a particular columns cannot have null values. Let us see there is one example of null or not null constraints. How to specify the null constraints while creating table? While creating table students, we can specify not null constraints for a column roll number, student name and student age, which means one must provide the value for these three fields. While inserting or updating records in this table, it enforces these columns not to accept the null values. The query can be written as there is syntax create table. If you want to create the table, you have to use the command create table. Then students is the table name. Then roll number is the first attribute of student table. Int is a data type of roll number. Then not null means you must provide the value in this field. Okay, then student name is the second attribute of student table. Data type is varchar and 35 is the limit. Then not null means you must provide the value is here. Then student age is the third attribute of student table. Int is a data type of student age attribute, and not null means again this column not to accept the null values. You must provide the value in this field. Then next is the domain constraints. Domain constraints are a user defined data type which is a definition of a valid set of values for an attribute. They can be defined as domain constraint is equal to data type plus constraints, that means not null or check or default constraints. The data type of domain includes string, character, integer, time, date, currency, etc. The value of the attribute must be available in the corresponding domain. For example, consider an attribute e-number of relation employee. We declared it as print e-number integer. The domain constraints for e-number specifies that e-number can take any valid integer value within the range described by the integer data type. Another example can be the domain constraints for attribute emp name, employee name. The employee name of employee defined as a type char or a varchar. This implies that employee name can take all valid strings, means alphabetical strings, which are valid human names from the universal string set. Next is the check constraints. These constraints is used for specifying range of values for a particular column of a table. When these constraints is being set on a column, it ensures that the specified column must have the value falling in the specified range. Check is one of the ways in which a domain constraints can be applied. If you define a check constraint on a single column, it allows only certain values for this column. If you define check constraints on a table, it can limit the values in certain columns based on values in other columns in the row. The check constraints relates to the set of values that can be had in an attribute of relation. It specifies that every valid value in an attribute should satisfy a given condition. Example, consider the employee table. There is employee table and employee number, employee name and city salary are the attribute of employee relation. Here using check constraints, we can specify that the salary of an employee should always be greater than 1000. Similarly, we can also use check constraints to specify that the people who are employed in the organization should belong to the either Pune, Mumbai or Delhi city. Thus, check constraints can be used to restrict the values an attribute of a relation can have. There is another example of check constraints. Check constraints on the age column when the person table is created. The check constraints ensures that the age of a person must be 18 or older. Syntax is create table, persons is the table name, create is a command for creating table, ID is the first attribute of a person table, int is a data type of ID attribute, then not null means you must provide one value for this attribute. Then second attribute is a name, varchar is a data type, not null, then not null constraints is used. Then age is a third attribute of person table, int is a data type of age attribute, and there is a check constraints. Check constraints condition is given age greater than or equal to 18. Last one is a mapping constraints. Mapping constraints defines how many entities can be related to another entity to a relationship. The mapping cardinalities or the cardinality ratio represents the number of relationship instances that an entity can participate in That is the number of entities to which another entity can be associated via relationship set. Mapping cardinalities are most useful in describing binary relationship sets. For a binary relationship set R between entity set A and B, the mapping cardinality must be one of the following: 1 to 1 mapping constraints, 1 to many, many to 1 and many to many. We will see one by one. First one is 1 to 1 relationship. To describe this relationship between two tables, the primary key of one table is placed as a foreign key in another table. For example, consider two tables, customers and flight. Customer table having attribute social security number, name, address and phone number. Flights having attributes number, day, aircraft and social security number. In customer table, social security number take it as primary key, and and in flight table, social security number is take it as foreign key. While creating this relationship, consider social security number as a primary keys. For example, one customer can book one flight only. One customer can book one flight only. So there is one to one relationship. Then next is the one to many relationship. Here the primary key of one table is placed as a foreign key in second table. The one side of relationship is considered the parent entity and another side is a child entity. While building a relationship model, the primary key of the parent is always placed as the foreign key is a child key. For example, one customer can book many flights. So here we can use one to many relationship. Next is many to one relationship. Here again one side is a parent having primary key and second side is child side and having foreign key. Many to one relationships mean many customer can book one flight. So here M represents many and 1 represents 1. M represents many and 1 represents 1. So many customer can book one flights. So next is a many to many relationship. In this relationship, we have to create an intersection table which consists the primary keys of the tables. For example, many customers booked many flights. Here, customer is a table and flight is another table. Customer is a parent table and flight is a child table. Okay, many customer can book many flight. Here is intersection table because in intersection table consists the primary key of another tables. So many customers book many flights. Then strong and weak entities. Sometimes there is no attribute in an entity which shows uniqueness of entity. An entity set may not have sufficient attributes to form a primary key entity set is termed as a weak entity set. And the entity set which has a primary key is known as a strong entity set. A weak entity set is indicated by a doubled line rectangle. An entity set may not have sufficient attributes means in entity set if there is not a primary key then that entity set is termed as a weak entity set and the entity set which has a primary key is known as a strong entity set.